Hello, and it's really good to have your company for this It's Learning Thursday webinar. My name is Ella Coles, and I'm a pedagogical consultant with It's Learning, which means I support schools and colleges and training providers all over the UK to use their learning platform. Unfortunately, we're not able to answer questions live today for reasons beyond our control, but please email them to me at the email address given at the end of this webinar. The webinar will also be recorded, so please let any colleagues who couldn't attend the live session know so that they can catch up later. We're joined today by customers outside the UK, so a warm welcome to you too. If you've any questions arising from the webinar, please address them to your own national consultants who will be happy to help. In today's webinar, we'll be looking at communication and how It's Learning can support and enhance this for you and your learners. A famous quote by American journalist Sidney J. Harris said that the two words information and communication are often used interchangeably, but they signify quite different things. Information is giving out, communication is getting through. Probably the best way to ensure that we make sure our information gets through is to make it easily accessible, as engaging as possible, and to actively involve the other person or people so that we're communicating with them rather than just to them. Let's keep that in mind as we go through this session. I'm going to look at ways of making your organisation's It's Learning VLE the one place for communication, the best way to target your communications to specific groups and audiences. And we'll also remind ourselves of the range of fabulous tools that you have at your disposal to support good communication in your courses, and also how the app can enhance this. Communication is paramount in education, whether it's teacher to student, student to student, teacher to teacher, the list goes on, but it's all really important and needed to make sure our students are successful. Think about how your organisation communicates internally and externally at the moment. Email, letters, notices on lots of different boards, notes in pigeonholes, slips in registers, verbal announcements in briefing or assembly. And how do students communicate? Verbally, notes, notices, perhaps just limited to within the walls of your organisation. Text messaging and email for older ones perhaps, but with the safeguarding issues that can bring. And how do students communicate with you, their teacher? Face-to-face is always best, and in primary that's a lot easier. But in secondary and further education, where they may not see you for days or even weeks, or perhaps they don't want to be seen talking to you, what then? And the expense. Lydiard Park Academy in Swindon, in a recent interview they did for It's Learning, reported print cost savings have been achieved amounting to £800 per month on average. If you'd like to see more of this interview, go to www.itslearning.co.uk/news. So what if your school's information and communications happened in one place, a place that you, your colleagues and students could access at any time of day from pretty much wherever you happen to be? With It's Learning and the tools it provides, you can target information to the right people, but better still, they can respond so that you can get real communication going. Let's look first at communication to the whole of your organisation. I'm going to use a variety of sites to demonstrate what I'm telling you about today, the original It's Learning with the left-hand navigation panel, and also the brand new It's Learning with the menus along the top. If your school hasn't yet switched to the new It's Learning, don't worry, I'll be pointing out what you can do in each version as we go along. If you're still using the original It's Learning in your school or college or company, you've got a choice of landing page that users will see as soon as they log in. If your teacher and learner profiles have been set to dashboard, this enables your organisation to make information and news available to all staff and learners in a customisable landing page as soon as they log in. Here we've got an example taken from a college, perhaps a secondary school example, and also a primary school example. Let's just remind ourselves on how to add a news bulletin to a dashboard. So I'm going to log into school here and add a bulletin to a school dashboard. Let's go to the original version. You can see that I've got the news bulletin content block on the page here, and you need admin rights to be able to do this on the school dashboard. So if I click on news, and we'll say south entrance closed. You've got a choice whether you publish it now or at a specific time in the future, and you can also set an end date for your announcement if you wish. I'm just going to put in some text at the moment. So the south entrance, will be closed today to allow for some painting work to be done. Now I've just used text, but obviously you've got the toolbars which allow you to put in images, self-recorded audio, self-recorded video, or embedded third-party content in there. I save that. Oh, I've also got some options for who I want to see that particular bulletin. So from the dashboard, you can decide who that's going to appear to. Clicking on save, and you can see that I've got my announcement here now that everybody will see when they land on the dashboard. If you want to edit or remove the news articles, rather than use the cross, which will take the whole of the block off, just click on the title of the post that you want to get rid of and use the More menu from the ellipsis to edit or to delete. If you're using the new version of itslearning, you can still do this. The dashboard sits under Groups and can be set as the default landing page by your itslearning administrator in the profile settings. But you also have the option of setting the landing page to the home page. The home page pulls through aggregated information from all the courses that the user belongs to, so everyone, be they staff or learner, will see just the information that is relevant to them. If you want to be able to send news bulletins to everyone in your school or college, you can create a course on your site and make all users a participant by choosing the top level staff and student hierarchies. Then any news or information you want to broadcast to this whole audience can be added to the bulletins on this course's overview page. If we just go back to the demonstration site here, and you'll see if I go to courses and Wychester School, so this is a course rather than a dashboard. I've set up a course for the whole school, made everybody a member, and I can add an article in here. Don't forget your Christmas concert tickets on sale at break. Don't forget that when you're putting your bulletin in the actual course, that will then come through to the home page for all your users. So I've clicked on the home page here, and you can see the bulletin that I've just put in here. You can't edit the home page, that just pulls information in from all the courses that a user is a member of. The bulletin needs to be added to the newsfeed in the appropriate course overview. So by using course bulletins, you could broadcast to the whole school from the Wychester School course. as in this example, or if it's an announcement just for students, you could use the Student Zone course. Here's the same homepage in the original version of It's Learning. So we've got the homepage here, and again it gives the user an overview of all the tasks from their courses, a list of events from their various course calendars, and the latest changes that are happening in their courses. These aggregated content blocks will always keep users up to date with information that is specific to them. In the original It's Learning, you can use news and events content blocks on the dashboard to highlight important bulletins and upcoming happenings. And don't forget to make use of the audio and video in the rich text editor to support users whose first language it may not be English, or younger learners, or just to give a more personal touch and build a sense of community. You could use the calendar in your main organisation-wide course to note events that are relevant to all users, but which aren't part of a course. Let's just give you an example of that. So if I go into my primary school example, and I've got my down here. If I want to add an event, I can put that into the calendar, and I'm going to add it, let's put it in for tomorrow, to my Tordeen Primary School Information course. This is a course that's set up for this purpose. So in my description, I'll put Mufti Day, £1 to wear your own clothes. And create. I hope I managed to put that in the right date. And then when I go down to my events for Cameron here, oops, forgot to save it. Let's try that one again. So Birthday Day, £1 to wear your own clothes. Create it in Tordeen Primary. Hoping that's saved this time. And if we go back to Cameron and refresh the page, in his events, oh, it's come back in twice now, it didn't say, that's it. So you can see that that article has now come through. Don't forget that all users can also see this information in their events along with all the other events from their courses in the calendar view by clicking on the calendar tab at the top of the screen. Of course, no one wants to be inundated with information and messages that aren't relevant to them, which is why a course can be such a useful tool for communication. So if I want to create a news bulletin about auditions and have it visible for all students, I'll put it in the school's Student Zone course. If I want to make an announcement to just the sixth form, I add it to the news in the sixth form course. And if I want to add a bulletin for just the members of the Animation Club, I put it in the Animation Club course bulletins. Of course, it will depend on how you organise your courses in your particular organisation. In a primary school, you may well be using one course for your class for everything, and all news bulletins for that group can go in there. But if you're using separate courses for different subjects, your subject-specific news can go in these courses. Here's some examples. But of course there are other ways of communicating in itslearning. In both versions of itslearning, the internal messaging system can be accessed from wherever you are in the VLE via the speech bubble at the top of the screen. A small orange icon will alert you if you have any unread messages. I'll just go in as a teacher this time, so I'm going to log out as the administrator, and we'll go in as Andy Gray. So if I go to my messages at the top, I can just click on New and start typing either the name of the person that I want to send this to, so it could be Yasmina, for example, or the name of a course so that I can actually message all of the people in that particular group. So if I put in my GCSE English course, for example, and I can choose whether to send an individual message to each individual member of that course or start a group conversation by clicking this one so that everybody can see everybody else's contribution. I can also look for individual hierarchies that I can choose to send my message to if it is a group of users that don't actually belong to a course. So I'm going to put in, don't forget to get on with your project work in itslearning, and send that message. If I've got an assignment or a test for my learners in itslearning, I can give them a quick reminder if they're slow to hand in their work. So if I go to my course and actually go into GCSE English, this obviously could be any course for any purpose, I'm going to go and find the test that I set them. And you can see here where it says participants not submitted, 9, I can send a reminder just to hurry them along a little bit. So in just 2 clicks, a pre-populated message will go out to those 9 people to remind them about completing their test. I can also send an internal message directly from my course by clicking on participants. Here, either by selecting individuals by ticking the boxes, or I can leave those empty and it will send to the whole class. Clicking on send, it's just warning me that will go to all participants in the course, and then that will take me into the internal messaging system in order to be able to message them directly from there. Learning is a social activity, and interaction between student, teachers and their peers is universally understood to be one of the most important factors of a learning process. So itslearning has designed the new instant messaging system to lower the barrier for communication and make it much easier and quicker for users to communicate with each other. Messages are now conversation-based, not topic-based, and this means that all messages between 2 people or a group are grouped together. You can also subscribe to email alerts when you receive new messages. So if I just go back to Andy, and from the settings, your settings in his personal menu, you can set up alerts for email notifications when you get messages, and alerts when assignments are set, and so on. The new Your Students tab at the top of the page also very quickly allows you to view individual students, either from all your courses, you can search for them as well, or for individual courses. And by clicking on the name, you'll be able to see the most recent one-to-one conversations that you've had with those with that particular student. If you can't see this tab, it could be because you're logged in as an administrator rather than a teacher. And don't forget the other tools that you can add to your courses to facilitate and enhance communication. Discussion forums, for example. Conferences, so video conferencing tool is on the add menu when you're looking at resources to add to your courses. And don't forget the use of self-recorded video and audio, both in your resources and for learners to respond, so that you can bring in oral contributions to support younger pupils, but also as a way perhaps of practicing modern foreign languages, or just making it easier and quicker for feedback on assignments. I was recently talking to an EAL teacher who said that her students' biggest barrier to communication was, of course, the language. One way of overcoming the language barrier is to use a content block with an embedded Google Translate. Simply by clicking on the menu and selecting the language you want to translate into, everything that's not a picture is immediately translated into that language. So if I come out of here, and we'll go on to It's Learning. And which college? No, I'll show you in the original one actually, so that you've got a better idea. So if we go to the Home tab and Chichester School, and here you can see the embedded widget for Google Translate. So if I select language and we say, for example, Polish, when the screen refreshes, all the text on that page has been translated, apart from where it's part of a video or so on. All that's been translated into the language I have requested. If you'd like to use this on your site, just email me for a help sheet and I'll explain how to do that. Language barriers can be particularly problematic when you're dealing with parents, and this can be a good way of making sure that you're supporting your parents to understand the information you're giving them. While we're on the subject of parents or other external stakeholders who might need to know how their children or wards are progressing, how does your organisation manage this at the moment? In It's Learning, you have something called the Parent Dashboard, which, if your parents have got their own accounts and you have linked them in It's Learning with their children, you will be able to make available information to them. Let's just go and show you an example of this. So I'm going to log in here as a parent, and Asim is the father of Naeem and Yasmina, who are at different schools in this particular local authority, but he can see both of them because they share an It's Learning platform. And when I click onto Yasmina, you can see that I've got a lot of different items of information here. So I can see what she's written about herself in her profile. I can click through and view her e-portfolio. She shared that with me. And her blog. I can see the homework that she's been set, so immediately I know what she's got to do and can click through and see the individual tasks and support her with that. And as well as that, I've got information that's being brought through automatically on her progress in her particular courses. So I can see the grades that she's got recently and any remarks from her teacher. I can look at how she's been working through the course, so I can see what she's actually read, whether she's submitted tasks, any remarks, any feedback that she's had from her teacher, and so on. Now these are all aggregated blocks which pull this information through automatically for that particular parent, and he can only see his own children. But the school has also been able to share by using setting up a course for parents, and in that course adding surveys, discussion boards, so that they can communicate very easily with parents, giving these links through to the surveys and discussion forums and so on that they are using for the parents to communicate. They can also, just like any other dashboard, add useful information and links through for their parents. So the parents have got all the up-to-date information they need, and also real-time information about the progress of their child. Hopefully your organisation's governors or trustees are being kept fully up to date with the learning platform development and may already have accounts and be using it to have secure access to documentation and interactive tools. Being able to physically attend meetings for governors and for any people that have other commitments can sometimes be a problem. I recently worked with a school in Cornwall who'd been using their platform to overcome the problems of the geographical remoteness of their school by having virtual meetings and voting using the survey tool. And for communicating on the go, don't forget the itslearning app. This is great if you're trying to reach staff or learners who might not have access all the time to a computer. All the information from the bulletins, assignments that have been set for the students, calendar events coming through, and their internal messages are fed automatically through to this app, which is free to download from the App Store for Apple or Google Play Store for Android smartphones. So, a quick overview of how you can use itslearning for your whole organisation communications. Thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you've been inspired to go out and investigate what you can be doing with your learning platform. We'd love to hear your ideas for how you've used itslearning for communication, so please tweet us at itslearninguk, #LearningThursdays. Thanks again, and I'll leave you with my contact details if you have any questions. Until next time, thank you very much.